The Silver Star Network presents.
Straight drop, no rush, and they are big bending it to the end zone. This will be a prayer up in the air, and it might be caught. It's a touchdown. It's a touchdown. Oh, Big Ben struck midnight. 34.
This is the Cowboys Postgame Show.
Welcome to the Dallas Cowboys postgame show. I'm Michael Ray, as always, just outside the Dallas Cowboys locker room as the Cowboys defeat the Cardinals 31-20. Folks worried all week long, would the Cowboys maintain their intensity after their tough week last week in New York? Yes, they did. Maybe a little flat towards the end. A win is a win is a win. The Cowboys go to 3-0. Michael Irvin over 200 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns today. Emmitt Smith over 100 yards rushing, adds in a touchdown. Again, 31-20. Cowboys go to 3-0. A couple of Cowboys dinged up. Mark Stepnoski took a knee to the head, and he was a little out of it. We'll check with Kevin O'Neill in just a little bit, and he'll give us the conditions on not only Stepnoski, but also Kervin Richards. Brad Sham is on his way right now from the Cowboy play-by-play booth. He'll be in that locker room in just a few moments and give Cowboy play-by-play, or actually Cowboy interviews with a bunch of the Cowboy players. We'll also hope to get Jerry Jones. He's with Thomas Everett, who the Cowboys will trade for officially in just a few moments to get from the Pittsburgh Steelers a free safety. You might remember him from Baylor if you're a Southwest Conference fan. Lots to come on the Cowboy postgame show. When we come back, we will go into the media room and cover Jimmy Johnson's press conference. All to come on the Cowboy postgame show right after this. Welcome back to the Dallas Cowboys postgame show. I'm joined by Jerry Jones, and you have a friend with you. Would you like to introduce him to our audience?
Well, Michael, I want to introduce him to a new Dallas Cowboy, Thomas Everett, and we're glad to have him on this team. And he signed just a minute ago. Had to wait until after the ball game, but we're glad to have him on the team. And we were just in the dressing room. They played their hearts out, didn't they, Thomas?
They sure did, and I'm happy to be a part of this winning atmosphere here.
Well, it's funny because when Charles Haley came on board, everybody talked about him maybe being the last piece in the puzzle, and now it looks like, Thomas, we have an extra piece, and that may well be you to send this team to the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to get to work and start getting back into that football shape, and it won't take long for me.
Now, what's great here is that, of course, he lives 2 blocks from Valley Ranch out there, and I know all of our fans are proud to have him here. He had a great career at Baylor, and he's going to do the same thing with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, living in Bent Tree in that area, you obviously have kept up with the Cowboys. You said earlier in the week you didn't really have a yearning to come to the Cowboys, but you're more than happy to be here, no doubt.
Well, it really wasn't a yearning. It was just that the fact that I didn't expect the Cowboys to come after me. I mean, I'm going to yearn to work anywhere, and so I'm yearning here, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Jerry Jones. We're going to go across the hall now. Jimmy Johnson about to do his media conference. Let's look in on it.
Well, we're happy to be 3-0. It seems like Phoenix always gives us a problem. Back when we first got here, when we thought we were going to win, they beat us, and in the last few years we've struggled. At times the score doesn't always look like we struggle, but they really match up well against us, and they really give us problems. And they deserve some credit. I thought their quarterback, I thought Chandler hung in there and made some plays. We felt like we were rushing him pretty good, and we're hanging on him. But he was throwing completions, and they made plays against us. Just as you start feeling good about yourself or start feeling good about a phase, that's when you had little problems. And normally the kicking game is ours. And normally we're going to win the kicking game, and we're going to think that we're going to win the kicking game every time we go out. But the kicking game gave us some problems today with the kickoff returns. And once Kelvin, the sun was in his eyes and couldn't get the punt, and then we had a blocked field goal. And we're better than that in the kicking game. Now, part of it's due to their talent. Johnny Bailey's an outstanding returner, and I said all week long I was scared to death of Bailey. But happy 3-0. Our guys came through, and we made some plays. I told Michael Irvin he had a big day. He had 3 touchdown receptions, had over a couple hundred yards, had a fumbled reverse, and he had a busted lip. He ran right by me when we scored there toward the end, and he knocked my headset right up in my mouth and busted my lip. It's a good thing he scored those 3 touchdowns. Any questions?
any flashbacks from last week?
Oh, no. In this league, as young as our football team is, I saw something the other day. We got the youngest team in the National Football League. As young as our team is, hey, every week's a new week. There's no telling what's going to happen. I don't care who the opponent is. I don't care if we're on the road or at home. Every week's a new week with this bunch.
What about some of the injuries?
I think we should be all right. Alexander Wright twisted his knee a little bit. Kervin Richards just got knocked in the head. Stepnoski got knocked in the head. But they all should be okay.
Talk a little bit more about the acquisition of Thomas Everett, what he'll mean.
Well, we're happy, to have Thomas Everett as part of the Cowboys. We made inquiries about Thomas during training camp, and really couldn't get anything finalized at that time, and we waited, and so talks picked up here a little bit this week, and so we're happy. I think he'll help our football team. We'll apply for a 2-week or 2-game exemption, which the bye week actually counts as one of those games, and so it's possible that we could have him exempt for the Pittsburgh game. We'll make a decision at that time whether or not he'll be ready to play. We just have to watch him work in the next couple of weeks.
Talk a little about your defense today.
Well, our defense came up with a couple of big plays. I think Tony Tolbert not only getting the sack at the end of the game, but the sack earlier on and causing the fumble. I thought there was two very big plays. I thought we were able to hold up on the running game. They had too many seams in their passing game. I thought they did a good job with their passing game.
Coach, are you concerned at all that your secondary gave up as many yards as it did?
No, I'd be concerned if I was 0-3 or 1-2. I'm not concerned. We're 3-0. I mean, a lot of the yards, we had the lead at the end. We weren't going to blitz them. And we gave up yards last week with a big lead. But we were trying to eat up the clock there the last couple of series.
Sets up a big showdown, Coach.
I don't know who we play this week.
I think they got a bye next week. Talking about offensive weapons, over an 11-minute drive, that's quite unusual in the NFL.
Well, we made plays. We were able to run the football, and we were, picking up first downs. A couple of times we picked them up just by a few inches, and being able to execute offensively and protect the quarterback, we're able to do that. We made a couple of key receptions, and Novacek made a couple of key receptions. And, of course, Emmett running the football always gives you an opportunity to move the chains.
Did you hope to keep Emmett out, Jimmy, for the rest of the game?
No. In fact, I told Emmett when I put Kervin in there, I said, hey, this is not for the game. I said, stay ready. I'm just going to give you a blow. And that's, we wanted to work Kervin in just a few plays. I think we might have had him one play in the first half or a couple of plays in the first half, and we're going to give him a series there the second half. But, Emmett's still the guy that's going to be in there. In fact, during that series, Emmett's up, next to me and said, Coach, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I said, just let him finish the series. Everything's going to be fine. And he finished the series. He got knocked in the head, so Emmett went back in.
Was it a specific plan to get Michael Irvin involved early? Because at one point he had 6 of the 8 completions from.
Oh, a lot of it just depends on their coverages. If their coverages roll up on one receiver, or if they single a certain receiver, he's going to be the guy we go to.
In the fourth quarter, were you even aware that Irvin was 36 yards away from the team all-time single-game record?
No, I read about records after the season's over with. I don't pay any attention to them during the season, and especially not during the game.
You're 3-0 in the division now. Do you expect it will get harder in a couple of weeks?
I think it's going to get real hard. We're going to be playing a great football team. We were extremely fortunate a year ago when we were up there. The Eagles have a great football team. Now they've got, Herschel Walker and Randall Cunningham, and their offense has improved from where they were a year ago. I think they got a great football team. It's going to be the ultimate challenge to go up there on Monday night against that bunch.
Well, that's Jimmy Johnston's post-game media conference. Jimmy obviously in a very good mood, even recounting the story of Michael Irvin popping him in the mouth and knocking his headset in there. Drew some blood there in the second quarter. Cowboys again win big today, or at least win 31-20. We'll be back with more Brad Sham inside the Cowboy locker room as Dallas Cowboys football continues in a moment.
Brad Sham back in the Cowboys locker room after the Cowboys pushed their record to 3-0 and beat the Phoenix Cardinals. Our star of the game today is Michael Irvin, who receives a $400 gift certificate from Village Jewelers and Diamond Cutters, the loose diamond specialist. I got to tell all the writers, wait, hanging on every second for a quote. I got to read the commercial plugs first, fellas. Sorry. Village Jewelers has 4 area stores and a fine selection of ring watches and more. And our star of the game also receives a $200 gift certificate from Rochester Big and Tall, the premier clothier for big and tall men. And all of today's guests on the Locker Room Show receive a hibachi steak dinner for 2 from Benihana, the Japanese steakhouse at Dallas at LBJ and Coit, a gift certificate from Larry's Shoes. No other man's shoe store can fill their shoes. And a new furniture store called The Room Store gives each of our guests a $100 gift certificate. The Room Store has 5 locations that offer the guaranteed lowest price, or it's free. Michael Irvin, 8 catches, 210 yards, 3 touchdowns, the 5th best receiving day in Cowboys history. And so what, the rust is worn off now, and now the holdout's over?
Brad, I don't want to hear another word about rust. You know, last week Norb kind of ran me in the ground last week, and right towards the end of last week I dropped a little hitch, and Nate came to me and said, all right, Michael, don't be rusty. And I was like, Nate, you know, I went in to Nate and said, I don't want to hear another word about rust. I just want to play football. It's time to put the holdout and everything and all that behind and just play football. I mean, it's time for me to focus in and start doing what I can do.
Well, you must feel seriously about that, because I saw you blocking a couple times, too.
You know, it's funny, because you must know they were on me all week about blocking. Emmett's been eating me alive, and, you know, I spent a lot of time with him, and it's get hard sometimes. When every time you're around your best friend, he's like, hey, man, you better block, man. I need 200 yards and that type of thing. So, you know, on that first touchdown, he was right down there blocking with me. That's what we tried to concentrate on, downfield blocking all week.
Well, and Novacek had a couple of key blocks too. But let's talk about that first one, the long one, because you had to make a couple of very tricky cuts and moves in there. When do you start reading what's in front of you, and when do you just start running?
Well, what you try to do, Brad, is you try to get into that zone where everything slows down in front of you, where you can see everything, and you can see it actually almost before it happens. You know, I felt pretty good going into the game. I was joking with Crazy Ray. You know, Ray said, how you feel? I said, I feel like 200 yards today, and actually I did. Actually, I came up with it. So I told Coach Jackson I felt pretty good. You know, I'm almost to that point where I see the game slowing down in front of me again, and that's the point I want to be at.
Second one, beat double coverage. Quarterback helped you with the throw on the second one,
Helped me. He made the play. You know, offensive line, it's a long route, and offensive line helped the play. And the quarterback, man, he made a great throw.
Third one, if I'm the receiver, I'm afraid of that ball. Now, that one's coming with smoke on it.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, the whole while I'm thinking, man, just easy. Throw it in here light, Troy. Throw it in the easy, because there's so much going on. It was so much going on.
Well, you know he's not throwing it light and easy on that route.
He don't know. He just don't know how to throw him light and easy yet. He put it where he needed to put it. He put it low and away. You know, I catch it and run in zone. Alfredo Roberts and Jay, they cleared it out great for me on that play.
And to prove, however, that you can still play the perfect game, what happened on the reverse?
That's Emmett's fault. Where is it?
Oh, it's a bad handoff, right?
Yeah, but don't Emmett. Hey, look. All I want to do is do what I do best. That's run deep ends and deep outs, man. They made me run the reverse. I didn't want to run it. They made me do it.
You were in there begging all week. I know you had to have been.
Yeah, but you know what? The play worked great. And practice, we ran a couple times in practice, and it worked great. I think, you know, sometimes you get in the game, adrenaline going, and we just missed the handoff.
All right, now we're way premature for this question, but your next game is against a team that's also 3-0, and before you went there to play them last year, you saw them play the Oilers, and you were quaking a little, and it wound up being a good game for your team. But what's the relative position of these teams to one another compared to last year?
Well, you know, Brad, the thing is, when I think about the Philadelphia game right now, it's a Monday night game. You know, I'm thinking back, I think about the Washington game. Everybody says, oh, it's the biggest Monday night game. One of the biggest Monday night games ever. We got more cameras than anybody. Both teams are 3-0 now. It'll be a nice setting, don't you think? It'll be a nice setting. Big day. It'll be nice. I'm anxious to wait. I wish we didn't even have the bye, to tell you the truth.
Big day today for Michael Irvin, our star of the game, with 8 catches for 210 yards, 3 touchdowns. Congratulations.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Brad.
Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment. Brad Sham in the Cowboys locker room after the Cowboys beat the Phoenix Cardinals today 31-20 to go 3-0, and it was a big day for the Cowboys offense, and I don't know when I've seen Troy Aikman look sharper. 14 of 21 for 263 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. Where's that rank for you? I mean, that's a pretty sharp day.
Well, it really was. You know, Michael did a great job as far as getting open, and I was just able to get the ball to the guys, you know, really, and not trying to be humble in any regard. Norv did a great job of calling the plays, doing the things in order to get those guys open, and my job was a little bit easy, and it makes it a little nice when Mike catches the first ball you throw and races up the sidelines. Of course, that shows on the stats as an 80-some-yard touchdown, and Mike did all the work.
Yeah, but, of course, you knew that play was breaking when you let the ball go, right?
Oh, yeah, I knew that he had a step on that guy, but it really was. The offensive line did a great job in terms of protecting me all day long. I thought they did a good job of allowing Emmett to run the football, even late in the ball game when it was obvious everybody knew that we were going to run. Everybody really just did a nice job offensively.
The second touchdown to Irvin was one for a guy who, by some reputation, has trouble putting touch on a deep ball. Was not a bad pass. So you want to talk about that one?
Well, it was a route that we really hadn't even worked on much in practice. We threw it a couple times last year. Failed to connect on it, and then this year we came into the game thinking that we might have a shot at getting it. Michael really did a great job of selling the route and then getting up top. The safety was coming over the top, so I couldn't keep him into the middle of the field where we'd normally like to throw that particular ball, and I had to bring him back outside, and he did a nice job adjusting to it.
Now, in the third touchdown to Michael, and I told him, if I'm the receiver on that play, I'm afraid of that pass, the way that ball's coming. I mean, do you have any concern about how hard you can throw it in short yardage like that in tight quarters?
Well, normally the closer you get down in there, you have to throw it a little bit harder than what you do when you're out in the middle of the field, just because everything shortens down and the time of reaction for the defense is a lot shorter. So that's another play that we just put in a couple weeks ago. Just been working on it occasionally, thinking that it might cause a play for us. And Mike did a great job of selling and coming back in. I thought he had a guy kept barreling down on him. I was trying to keep it low to where that he could catch the ball and protect himself and possibly have a chance to score. And Alfredo Roberts, I don't know if y'all saw it on the replay, but Alfredo Roberts did a nice job of really running over the guy that was supposed to be covering Mike.
Now, on the reverse, which you asked me not to ask you about, I have to bring it up because we were wondering, and maybe I should be asking Norv Turner this, but you're out there lead blocking, and I know you're out there looking for somebody to hit. And I don't know if I want my quarterback out there doing that with a 28-13 lead or whatever it was then. Did you lobby for that play or what?
No, it came in, and actually, I thought it was a pretty good call at the time. There's little chance of me getting hurt on the play. I mean, I'm going to try to go low on a guy, or if I am able to get out on a corner, I'm going to try to stay up high with him. But when I came around, I came off on Harvey. And didn't
good.
Well, I didn't hit him up high. I came down low, didn't get him on the ground, but I was expecting Mike to be on my tail, which he normally is when we practice on that. And I thought he was around the corner, and then I turned around and he's got a 10-yard loss. I still don't know what happened on the play. I assume he fumbled it. I don't know.
Yeah, he fumbled it.
Okay,
yeah.
thanks.
All right. Happy to help. So this is the first time in a non-strike game that the Cowboys have scored 30 or more points 2 games in a row since '86, and at that time it was like 4 or 5 games in a row, and they were leading the league in points and offense. How close are you getting now to where you think this offense is going to be in terms of being in sync?
Are we still not in sync? I mean,
to where you think it's going to be. I think it's fine, but you're the ones who keep saying it's not going to be.
Well, you know, the defense we're playing has a little bit to do with how well we do offensively.
You're sure touchy sometimes.
Well, you know, I've been hearing about it. You know, when you guys going to get in sync, and I think that we've done a pretty good job. I mean, we can probably get better, sure, but there are going to be games where we don't do quite as well as what we're doing, and that's the one thing about this league, as you well know, Brad, and I'm not picking on you, but you know, each week you never know how things are going to come up, but the one thing about it is everybody's got a role offensively in order for us to be successful, and the offensive line's got to be able to block and get holes for Emmett and be able to keep them off of me, and I've got to be able to get the ball to the right guys, and the receivers have got to get open. So so far I'm real proud of the fact that everybody within the offense has done what they've been asked to do, and that's why we've been able to move the football.
Okay, we now know it officially. The Cowboys offense is in sync. Our thanks to Troy Aikman. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment. Cowboys win today over the Phoenix Cardinals. Final was 31-20. Brad Sham back in the Cowboys locker room, and we're now with Cowboys fullback Daryl Johnston, who I am nominating for being in the class with John L. Williams and fullbacks of that magnitude as the best blocking and catching fullbacks in the league. I don't know if you want to accept that honor, but I mean, you've been blocking awful well, but today you were running plays on both ends where you got the outside linebacker, the tackle got the defensive end. That was a huge gainer for Emmitt Smith all day. So A, congratulations, and B, let's talk a little bit about what it takes to make a play like that work.
Thanks a lot, Brad. Because of the way they were playing their scheme, they had the outside linebackers split out kind of wide in their scheme, and we put a few plays in and we thought we could take advantage of them being out that wide. And you know, fortunately for us, they didn't really change that style to the end of the game and bring them in a little bit tighter, so we were able to get some success early on in the game running outside.
You're a little bigger than you were last year? Question mark?
Yeah, it's close. Maybe a little bit bigger than it was last year, but you know, I feel a little bit quicker, and you know, that's you know, a credit to Mike and everything, but you know, it's probably negligible, you know, the difference in size right now.
Well, I ask that because you see the films. You're in a good position to know if in fact you're more consistent with your blocking. It's always been a strong point for you, but you seem to be. It's been a major plus in each of the first 3 games. So how does it compare in your judgment?
It's vastly improved, especially when you play against teams like the Giants and Washington and Phoenix, and you know, a lot of the time that week you spend looking at the previous games from the year before. And, you know, I can notice a really big improvement in what I've been doing blocking since then. And, you know, it's hard to say what the difference is. I really think it's just a mindset and, you know, feeling comfortable with what your job is. And it's been going well for me so far this year.
You had a chance. I'm looking for the offensive stats here. 3 carries for 7 yards today, and you thought you had pay dirt, didn't you?
Yeah, I was surprised to hear the call at the 2-yard line, and not surprised to see him jump into the Bear defense, though. So he had a shot at it and didn't take advantage of it, and you know, that kind of hurt. But you know, as long as we get in, it really doesn't matter who it is.
Of course, you also had carries on consecutive plays at another point in the game. So is this now ground Daryl? Is that what we're saying here?
I don't know. It'd be nice. You know, 3 carries, that's 3 times as many as I've had in the first 2 games. So the average is slipping a little bit, but the carries are going up, which is nice. So.
Can you handle mentally your ego, handle the role of a blocking fullback? I mean, obviously that's what's going to be your role, but no one comes out of college saying, gee, I'd like to be another guard, you know, and maybe carry it 3 times a game. Have you settled into that?
Yeah, I've never had an ego problem at all. You know, I've never done anything to have a big ego, so for me it's very easy to accept the role of a blocker. And you know, when you got a guy like Emmitt and you know, what he does for you when you do your job, you know, the gifts he gave us after last year, and you know, just the thanks he gives you after each and every game, you know, it kind of makes the job a little bit easier.
You did get one of those Rolexes then?
I sure did. He was kind enough to give me one.
Do you get to go to the offensive line meetings?
I've been asking Tony if I could sit in now and then because, you know, starting to drift out of the passing game, and so I figure I might as well go and sit with the linemen and learn what's going on in the blocking schemes.
All right, a big game for Daryl Johnston today. Thanks, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad.
Cowboys beat the Phoenix Cardinals today. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment. Brad Sham back in the Cowboys locker room where the Cowboys have beaten the Phoenix Cardinals to go 3-0, and it was a day where Tony Tolbert certainly left his impression on Chris Chandler. The Cardinals quarterback sacked twice by Tony Tolbert today. Let's congratulations on the win. First of all, let's talk a little bit about what you expected from the Phoenix offense and whether that was what you got.
Well, we expected them to come out and establish the run because they've had trouble running the ball, and then, you know, some play action passes and things like that. But you know, during later in the week, I guess they changed personnel, and it was hard to get used to going against the guy, you know, I was going against, Cunningham, because I was expecting to go against Mark May, and it was, you know, it was difficult to get used to rushing against Cunningham. But you know, we expected him to play action pass, give him a couple of chances, quick passes and hitches and stuff like that.
Now, you knew middle of the week, I guess, that Cunningham would be the guy you were going against, but I'm guessing you probably didn't have a whole lot of film on him. Did you have to go back to preseason, or did you have any?
We had to go back to preseason, and To be honest, though, I didn't find out that he was going to start until Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning sometime. But, you know, we went back to the preseason games, Seattle and Chicago, and tried to get as much on him as possible.
Now, I know you also have a couple of members of your coaching staff who were with Rick Cunningham at Texas A&M. In a case like that, do they come to you or you go to them and say, give me a book on this guy?
Yeah, you know, they told me that he was, you know, decent athlete. You know, kind of go after him, he'll kind of, you know, go down and stuff like that. But, you know, to me, they didn't give him his just, though. I think he was a pretty good athlete foot-wise and stuff like that. And he put more effort into his game than what I've seen him play.
Now, another thing that happened, of course, that people are going to talk about is big lead, and the other team made it interesting at the end. They were you playing a lot of that so-called prevent defense in the fourth quarter today?
I think we learned, as a team, we learned our lesson last week. I think it wasn't that much as prevent. I think, you know, we got on top of them real fast, and it was forced them to pass and stuff like that. You know, there ain't no prevent in the NFL because any team can score 21 points in 2 minutes, or, you know, something bad can happen. So, you know, you never try to prevent, you know, from losing the game or whatever. You just play the way you've been playing and stay on top of it.
Are you a little stronger, a little more into the flow now after not having a training camp?
I'm still getting tired early. I'm you know, not as sore as the first game, but I hope to get my win very soon. You know, there's nothing that can prepare yourself for hitting and stuff like that, but I'm just trying to get back in shape as much as possible.
So you're still not 4 quarters every down worth of football shape?
Nowhere close to it. Nowhere close to it.
Well, you got 2 weeks before Philadelphia. You think you'll have it then?
I hope so. I'm going to do a lot of running next week and try to get my wind back. Right now, to be honest, I can probably go 3 quarters the most, but, you know, with some spells here and there. But I hope to get my win and hopefully play the way I played last year.
Well, 2 sacks for Tony Tolbert today. Congratulations, you're part of the Cowboys win today.
Thank you.
We'll go now to Michael Ray, who's outside the locker room with Cowboys offensive line coach Tony Wise. See if maybe Daryl Johnston will get to sit in one of those offensive line meetings. Michael?
Well, thank you, Brad. We are with offensive line coach Tony Wise. Troy Aikman just made mention of what a great job your guys did. A couple of weeks ago, Emmett was a little upset because they didn't get the credit he feels they deserve. Talk about, I mean, we always hear about the offensive line as a unit. Talk about individual guys that you coach and that you're head over.
Well, probably the guy that gets the least the publicity is Mark Tooney, the left tackle, does an outstanding job. Big, strong guy who's awful consistent. He gets a lot of tough rushers over there. Harvey today, yeah. And he's just a real consistent guy and is a very good player for us. Everybody knows Nate and loves him, and Nate's playing very well and doing a heck of a job. John Giesick is probably, since the start of camp, has been the most consistent and probably the best lineman that we've had on the entire team, I would think. And then Eric Williams, obviously, has gotten a lot of publicity himself as, you know, being a young guy and being thrust in there. And Eric has played very well for these first 3 ball games.
And even the backups today, as I saw Nate came out, got a blow, and Kevin Gogan went in.
Nate kind of turned his ankle, and Kevin went in there, and Kevin obviously has been a starter, and he can do it very well. And it was glad to have Mark Stepnoski back, because he's a guy that's taken a lot of snaps for us over the past 2.5 years, and I think his first time out there, did a nice job.
Yeah, and then Frank Cornish having to come in. Stepnoski gets kicked in the head, so all around a great day for your guys.
Yeah, anytime the line can be consistent and play well together, then they're not going to get a lot of notice, and they know that as well as anybody does.
All right, thanks, Coach. 112 yards for Emmett today,
That's
over
great.
200 for Michael Irvin. That means your guys did a great job, and we'll thank you. The big game, of course, 4-0 is what they strive for against the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll be back with more Brad in the locker room as Dallas Cowboys football continues in a moment.
Brad Sham back in the Cowboys locker room after a 31-20 win over the Phoenix Cardinals today, and a couple of the Warriors did go down from time to time. We visit with Cowboys trainer Kevin O'Neill. Mark Stepnoski first. Kicked in the head. Did he know where he was?
No, he was still pretty fuzzy even at the end of the ball game, trying to piece some things back together, even events back to when he came in a couple weeks ago. So he's a little blurry yet, and he's going to spend some time with some friends tonight, and we'll be checking on him. I don't think it's going to be anything problematic or long-term, but he had a pretty good concussion going for him.
That was because I saw Dr. Zamorano holding his arm walking off the field. I thought maybe he'd done something to his shoulder, but that wasn't it.
No, that was just to stabilize him because he was a little dizzy.
Well, that's a big bunch of dizzy right there. All right. Nate Newton left with an ankle. What's that story?
Nate didn't really leave with any significant problems. Nate's been nursing a sore right knee, and we spelled him a little bit with Kevin Gogan late in the game. That's something we planned and talked about doing throughout the week. I don't think there's any surprises there. I don't think there's any big significant change in his condition.
What else?
You've got Kervin Richards. He took another shot on those same ribs. That's the same area that he had during the training camp where we had some problems and had to hold him out before. Don't know that we've got anything significant going there, but we felt the conservative and proper thing to do once he got that blow was to take him out of there. He did that. Alexander Wright re-aggravated a knee problem he's had for maybe a week or so. Again, I don't think it's a critical thing in terms of him being able to come back and participate next week. Something we'll take a hard look at tomorrow.
What's the nature of that injury? Do you know? Is it cartilage, or are you sure?
From where the pain is and what he's talking about, I think more than anything else, it's a pretty good bruise to the bone. It's a possibility in the same area that he's got a little bit of a ligament sprain, but it really hasn't demonstrated itself that way so far, watching it over the last several days. So I really think we're dealing with a bad bruise more than anything else, and hopefully that thing will calm down.
Ray Horton's hamstring come through the game all right?
Talked to him after the game. He felt real good about it. He said he really didn't have any problems, didn't feel anything with it, and got through quite well with that. Real pleased to get Russell back in the lineup tonight and get some quality time with him. A little longer than what I wanted as far as getting back off that toe, but it's worked out, and he's doing better with it, and that's pleasing from our standpoint.
Now, he did seem a little hobbled still. Was he, or was he just taking care of it when he left the field a couple times? Looked like he had a good limp.
Well, he was in a pretty unique shoe. Tom Rafferty brought him a shoe from ages gone by. It's got a double steel plate sewn in the bottom of it, which really prevents some hyperextension, pushing that toe far enough back where any more damage or problem can be caused with it. So the shoe's heavy, and in addition to that, yeah, it's stiff, so you don't get the normal push-off when you run. So you might have seen a guy that you thought was hobbled. I saw a guy that I saw wearing a double steel-plated shoe that was getting around pretty well.
Well, I like your perspective a little better. It's a little more well-informed. Thank you very much, Kevin O'Neill.
Okay, thank you.
Cowboys trainer after the Cowboys beat the Cardinals today, and Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Welcome back to the Dallas Cowboys postgame show. And Brad, I for one am glad that Michael Irvin had the 3 touchdowns today. Early in the first half against the Giants last week, before he scored his first touchdown of the season, he was actually pouting a little bit. He's just walking around. He's not the same guy when he's not getting in the end zone.
Yeah, well, he is certainly a different guy when he is getting in the end zone. That's absolutely sure. I'm kind of glad that he dropped the reverse, because otherwise, he'd have been bouncing off the walls in here. And another 40 yards or so, and he would have had the biggest day a Cowboy receiver ever had. I thought Michael Irvin last year had as good a year, if not better, than any receiver I'd ever been around or seen, because of some of the individual plays that he made and some of the timing that he used to make those plays. That is to say, when he did it. Man, I thought we saw that today. That run on the first one of the game, that was an unbelievable run, and I don't know if you can make a more difficult catch than he did on the third one. I mean, I thought he played like an all-pro today.
And Jay Novacek should get a lot of credit. I believe you, during the interview with Michael, mentioned that. But his blocking was so beautiful on that, and then Michael played off the block beautifully as well.
Novacek is a little underrated as a blocker, especially, I think, in the open field.
All right, so they go to 3-0. I mean, who'd have thunk it? Here we go. We are latched on and ready. 2 weeks from now, don't forget to join us then, because, of course, the off week next week, and then, of course, the big game, 2 4-0 teams meet. Hope you join us for the Cowboys postgame show again in 2 weeks as the Dallas Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles at Veterans Stadium.
This has been the Dallas Cowboy postgame show. Join us next week right here on 21 and only KTXA.
You're watching KTXA Fort Worth, Dallas.